And gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Soul Food Poetry Night. I'm Michael Dillon Welch, and I'm the Poet Laureate of Redmond. And independently of that, I also curate this series, which is now in its 9th year, which is really cool. So thank you for making the choice to come here tonight to listen to poetry, to read poetry, to see what happens. We have 2 featured readers tonight, and then we'll take a break, and then our open mic. Before we start with our featured readers, though, today, I believe it's today, is Chinese New Year. So I thought I'd read some poems in Chinese. Well, how about translated into English? These are a few poems by Han Shan, the 9th century hermit poet of China. Don't you know the poems of Han Shan? They're better for you than scripture reading. Cut them out and paste them on a screen. Then you can gaze at them from time to time. And here's another one. If there's something good, delight. Seize the moment while it flies. Though life can last 100 years, who has seen their 30,000 days? Just an instant and they're gone. Why sit whining over things? When you've read the classics through, you'll know quite enough of death. And I'll have some more Han Shan later too. So our 2 featured readers tonight are Roberto Ascalon and Ellie Rogers, and Ellie's going to read first. She currently studies with the MFA Creative Writing Program at Western Washington University in Bellingham, where she also teaches writing and critical inquiry and serves as assistant managing editor of the Bellingham Review, which has not yet taken any of my poems. But that's because I've never submitted, so it's my fault. Her poems have appeared in journals such as Crab Creek Review, Floating Bridge Review, Midwestern Gothic, and Winter Tangerine Review, which is, I've not heard of that. It's a great title. She draws material from her experiences as a botanical herbarium curator. Roll that around on your tongue. Botanical herbarium curator, circus tag-along, and that's common. And Midwestern transplant to the stunning Pacific Northwest. So please welcome Ellie Rogers.
Thank you. Thanks, you guys. Thanks for coming. It's great to be here. It's always great to get south, closer to the city. And it's always great to do anything with Roberto, because he's a treat. So glad to set the stage for you. And also, I've heard good things about your reading series, so I'm excited to hear all of your poems as well. It's true that I am a circus tag-along, so I'm going to actually start out. Most of my poems will be about the circus this evening. Up in Bellingham, we have a pretty vibrant circus scene, and I've been hanging out with some folks at the Lookout Arts Quarry, which is a little bit south of Bellingham. There's a really beautiful setting, foothills, and under the stars, they'll rig up trapeze swings, and we'll have shows out in that beautiful spot. So I've also managed to not ever have to be center stage with the circus, but just to play some music for them. So I get to tag along on the tours. And we went up to Alaska one summer on the Alcan, 50 of us in a school bus. We didn't get a lot of sleep because of the midnight sun and the being crammed on the bus every night. So I remember there was this one morning at about 4:30 a.m. and we rolled into a diner. And the diner had enough pie for all of us, and enough coffee, hot coffee for all of us. And it was just one of those miraculous moments on the road. So this is called The Arrival of the Circus. A gas station double diner yawns at daybreak. Its robed owner rounds up pie and coffee for 50. We sip dawn and share a slice of morning. We spill color all over. Dust asleep under diner stools turns to glitter under our feet. Regulars watch us and sweep habit out of their eyes. Back on the road, bus wheels erase commonplaces. Miles slide by. Size of towns, bracket lines of road that fill the gap between show and show. When the sun announces noon, we pull into a patch of grasses tucked beneath a mountain cirque. We make a palladium for play. We stake no tent but the tall tent of sky. We pave footpath veins with sawdust. We sling steel and boards into a stage, foothills backdrop. We string rigs with swings and wires. Stars add ambiance. Curtains of trees keep ticketless crowds from seeing. Bleachers flip open and wait. We know what it is like to be the crowd that will come. We used to be seated in the bleachers, bound and cordoned off, seating dreams to should nots. Now we say yes instead, never stop or sit still for too long. Though sometimes we miss watching, swallowing kernels of what could be, closing the doors of our smiles once in a while, settling like rain in the tracks of tires, knowing the ribbon of a route, not a routine, but the synapse of places claimed and called home. Thank you. Thanks. So as I mentioned, I'm usually in the audience at the circus, usually watching all of the amazing feats happening. So the next poem is called The Trapeze Artist. I actually got so excited the first time I saw a trapeze artist that I decided to take lessons, and I took lessons for about a year and then realized I should stick to writing poetry and playing music. So I'm opening with a Hélène Cixous epigraph. Flying is woman's gesture, flying in language and making it fly. Her body taught to fly, no bone hollow, her body flicks high, folds open like petals poppy open, steer bees to stigma. She curls around a steel bar suspended from stars, curls her ankle, neck, soft cup of limbs, audience agape, hungry for honey, keep blooming. We strain our vertebrae daily. We frame our bodies as cages minds can't shake. We clatter over worn tracks, beat feet to ward off fat's trap. To be free, we thought, was to be weightless. But she implies we could be high above a crowd that's faded, conflated with night. She reminds our bodies what's solid blocks the burst of spotlight and doubles you, a form and a shadow. We see she lifts, lines up limbs, ligaments elastic, her body an egg that drops but doesn't fracture, a wave that winds but doesn't break. She makes a question mark she can answer without words, speechless. The next poem is called The Bearded Ladies, venturing into the sideshow, which is a little risky, but I think it's interesting to think about the sideshow in the ways that we make other humans spectacles, the way we make each other spectacles, and also how a circus act can highlight how we all perform every day. We all have acts and costumes every day. So this is about performing womanhood. The Bearded Lady. She slips her leg out a slit in her skirt that flirts with her ankle, talus slope. Rose toenails, feet strapped, calves spiked high in heels. Beneath violet velvet pleats a hidden valley, the allure of what's between. We watch a fan at first obscure her face. She stoops to show the tops of breasts, eggs yoked with lace. Her costume uncloaks a code, a real woman, riddled with ribbons riveted from a thieved rib. But her chin reveals she's borrowed more than a rib of her suit, cheeks coarse with unculled stubble. Our stares stutter. She reminds us of before we knew how to be women, when we were teased for fields of vellus wisps on the edge of getting heavy. Aunts warned thickets would worsen. Taunts, the threat of peach rot, haunt us. We shave, wax away, wakening black that stakes out smooth skin. Razors burn. We strip away what keeps us warm. Filaments sense movement from hair to nerve to knowing what lisps malicious. Surface shafts trap vibration and translate out to in. In other words, she hears our gasps. We vow to check the mirror after, to pluck stray strands like a lady should. Yet she is free from forgery. She knows her body's not odd, accepts flooding excess coursing through her. We can't see through her. Wild secrets in her braided helices play out. She lets them. A mane untamed rings her strong jaw. Fate can clamp down hard. Sin is not skin stippled. What's wild always wins against design. She gazes back at a cringing crowd, caught up in curing ourselves of ourselves. Okay, we're going to take a little intermission from the circus poems. I'm going to read you a poem that's pretty hot off the presses. I tried to go backpacking this last summer, and not because of Cheryl Strayed, but because of my dad, who had hiked the entire Superior Hiking Trail in northern Minnesota, and I wanted to one-up him because he had done it in sections, and I wanted to do it all at once, all 250 miles by myself. So you can imagine that didn't go super well, and about 70 miles into my 250-mile hike, I got hypothermia. In July in Minnesota, that's not as crazy as it sounds. But this is a poem about getting hypothermia in the middle of the woods by yourself. And my ego, while this was happening, I was like, oh, I got to finish, though. Like I could just sleep it off. I'm just going to curl up. I'm just going to sleep it off. I'll wake up in the morning, keep going, because I really want to finish. I told everyone I was going to do this whole hike. And then this really strong instinct kicked in. So this is a poem about listening to those strong instincts that you have, even if it's apart from what you think you should do. The problem of water, Brule River and rain. This is an Emily Dickinson epigraph. This is the hour of lead, remembered if outlived, as freezing persons recollect the snow. First chill, then stupor, then the letting go. Mud revealed others. Parentheses of slender hooves, bare paws. Along the path, twin flower. Entwining storm with its body, the Brule River alighted toward Lake Superior's shores. I thought the Brule kindred. In us that fevered rush. A heart alights, heats the core against cool sheets of rain. Like your lover's fingers, raindrops ask skin for ignition. Who doesn't want to radiate excess like a sun? Touch the conduction of your good burn. Dad said to bring a wool cap, but I expected heat stroke, not the strike of cold light and soak. Stranded in July's tantrum, I shivered while the river rose and riled. My body puckered beneath a leaking jacket and a jack pine in pooling air. My skin paled and rippled like lake whitefish. Aluminum poles meant shelter, but also an invite to lightning. I chose the risk of rigging my tent. I shook inside. Hours could not drip me dry. All my body surrounded all my body. The womb was warm, I remembered, and wet. The body takes care of things. Blood vessels ignored everything apart from my core, constricted skin's proclivity to give away heat. Kidneys gathered rain and wrung it out of me. Then the sacrifice of hands. I tried to unfold the map to trace the flight path back, fumbled. Then the compromise of mind. I tried to pick up raindrops and put them back in the sky, fumbled. Around me, iron cliffs numbed and hummed. I breathed evening's deepening fog. The sky flashed, bolt, but thunder's low lullaby lulled. Low on the ground, I could burrow. The small curl of me burned, I swore, like a red giant. Those stars are cold. I didn't know. I didn't know the term for the reason I wanted sleep so soon. Parentheses of sun above and deep beneath molten iron. Set apart from the rest of the story, I nestled and wet down, below and above, enough heat, I thought. I thought I would make it through the night. But inherent in the hastening rate of my heart was my body's galloping plea, and in diuresis my body's desire to dry again in the someday sun. And in restricted skin, a contract. There is a risk in touch. If you touch cold stone, it might steal your heat. If you touch another who doesn't know where you have been, who doesn't know wild roses' cursive arms and iron dot hips, all along Rosebush Ridge, who has never witnessed from that vista the river reach the Great Lake, then risk, bewilder, but listen to the demand between your ribs' parentheses. What's vital only once, what's vital. What I didn't think I knew then. Instinct rose in me like breath's inhaled bloom. Let go of what you think you have to do. My body flashed. Bolt. So obviously I made it out of that one alive. Okay, just a few more circus poems for you, and then we'll have Roberto up. The next one's about a mime. Charades, I think, are really hard. Does anyone else think charades is a really hard game? No? Yeah. It's my least favorite party game because I think I'm always really impressed with good mimes. So I always think, too, after watching like Marcel Marceau do his mime performances, watching old videos of that, I feel like sometimes you can say more without words than with words, which is funny for a poet. But that's what this is about. The mime. Black stripes wrap the mime like text lines a page. She lifts her feet in what we call a walk, goes nowhere, slides the world backward with her steps. It becomes her, a smoky mirage. She leans against air, no swooning other. Propped up by nothing, she pretends a setting, builds whatever walls she wants. A sudden garden, vines of thin air blossom passiflora. She tosses a bouquet we reach to catch, forgetting. Gasps left over from the last act become her rope. She seizes something in the sky and hauls it down. We see it contest and blow back. To the visionless, she only wrangles wind, but she wins. We think it must be nice to rest the larynx, and void voices arrests, the swerve of the loudest words, the crooked confines of our alphabet in its stacked syntax, the mismatched glossaries of every conversation. Undampened by contorted tongue, the mime's contours speak a language inworn. Her body erases empty space and makes legible her vision. Yet we still want to see her palms smudged, imagined glass, want to see her trapped, stuck in that box. Okay, this next one I'm actually going to have Roberto come up to do with me, because it's called Sword Swallower Q&A. So when I was hanging out with the circus, I spent a good deal of time with our sword swallower named Justin up in Bellingham. And his act was always met with a variety of emotions, sometimes disgust, intrigue often, and always the same question. So I did a little interview. I'm going to have Roberto reply to the questions he usually got. In the moment before you swallow your sword, no one breathes. What swells your lungs?
A bounty of nothing to make space for the sword.
We respire and pray the spire will not prick your soft esophagus. You tilt back your head and offer your own expiration. Does your tongue protest?
Panic would cause a puncture, a rupture.
Arms wide, you become a cross and offer harm an easy point of entry. The sword scrapes solid past your gatekeeper teeth. Has your larynx lulled, reflexless?
I choose to allow unchewed steel down the chute of me.
We beg for the blade not to bend. We wish for your throat to open like acres of flat fields. When you push the sword past the hill of your heart, how does it feel?
I have to nudge my heart aside, remind it to trot in twos despite the shift.
Our hearts hooves stampede, scared. All fields, even fallow, no bones. Roots wrestle deep. Fragile seeds sleep, and we are not supposed to wake them. How do you know when to stop?
When the tip skims bottom, when the hilt kisses my lips.
One slit could pop your stomach. We would hear it. We watch you for a wince, a telltale flinch. Rumor has it you made a mistake once. How did you know?
Blood on the blade and uneasy breath.
And yet you are scabbard still. You wear the weapon like a tie, a suit to taunt what kills. Tonight you end unscathed. You bow to risk, a sheath, free. You'd sing no elegy regardless. Why would you do something so dangerous?
To light the cavity of my chest with blood's blush and threaded memory. To needle a spool of red twilight through thrills of yesterday, worn receipts of tempting secrets, maps of places the caravan remembers.
All right. So this last poem is a bookend to the first one that I read, which was Arrival of the Circus, and this one's just titled Arrival. At the end of that Arrival of the Circus poem, you can hear maybe that to be a wanderer is exciting, it's adventurous, but sometimes you want to come home. So this is about a different kind of arrival. At the edge of day, out of watery dreams of flashing ocean swallowing ships, with one restless yawn, I shore up at the edges of you. Born near the Great Lakes, we know to wake the way lakes lap at the strand. Quiet breathing. We hear the hush in daybreak's caesura. It calls us home. Outside, fevered crowds of cars clamor on their way away. A highway heaves them toward their days. We stay in bed. When I wake to you, I blink back all shallow acts I've played out. The bellowed hyperbole of the barker fades. I seed churning dreams to see you still looking back at me. Your azure eyes, sure. No one watching us. I know the world needs no audience. I hesitate to frame through the open curtains of our windows dew as glitter on sloped blades of grass, or forsythia as fresh spectacle flashing beneath magnolia miming spring, or robins on wires as calliope alighting. But in the morning, the sunlight is like a spotlight, swiveling over half the globe. And in the pause of dawn, our eyes applaud all the light presents. Our smiles are windows blown open by night's insistent wind. Entire tracks of a caravan's travels, brooding clouds settle down, say yes to springing sure earth green again. I wake to what is, not what has been or what could be. Already I know the roots along your body. I dream the ribbon from lips to limbs will never feel routine. Something I thought impossible laps at the edges of us, alights the isthmus of skin. What is tough between two bodies of water erodes over time. You show me, a lake renews with every rain, rivers and erosion grow the inland seas. A new interpretation of water. Maybe not only listless vagabond leaving, maybe also like morning, always arriving. Sanctuary in the susurrus of sunrise touch. I have arrived at your shore, this estuary. I could call this home. Thank you so much, you guys. Roberto up next.
Thank you, Ellie. What sort of music do you play? Okay. Okay, so we don't have any saxophones lying around, unfortunately. I was going to say we have a piano and some drums and a guitar or two. Oh, well. Anybody got a saxophone handy? I'll read you another Han-chan poem. Children, I implore you, get out of the burning house now. 3 carts await outside to save you from a homeless life. Relax in the village square before the sky. Everything's empty. No direction is better or worse. East just as good as west. Those who know the meaning of this are free to go where they want. Makes you wonder if anybody will be reading our words 1,100 years later. Our next reader is award-winning poet Roberto Ascalon, who has taught across Seattle since 2003. His teaching residencies have led to text, audio, spoken word, video, and photography exhibitions at the Frye Museum, the Northwest African American Museum, the Seattle Art Museum, and the Museum of History and Industry. One residency in 2011 earned him a trip to the White House, where he had the honor of shaking hands with the president. I'd like to know more about that. He is a Kundeman and Jack Straw Fellow, a two-time Seattle Slam team member, and the winner of the 2013 Rattle Poetry Prize, which I think is really cool. In a few weeks, I'm going to have my first poem in Rattle. It's really cool. Yes, and the editor is great to work with. As poet planner for For Culture in 2014, Ascalon helped revive Seattle's beloved Poetry on Buses program. And I'm curious, has anybody seen any of the poems? Maybe we don't have bus riders here. But it's a great program. And most of the buses have at least one poster, isn't that right? And then there's a couple that are just filled with just poetry, which is cool. And I'm glad to be part of that. Roberto spends his time between Bellingham, where he's a candidate for an MFA in creative writing, and West Seattle, where he lives in an old school building with a beautiful girl, a blackboard, and a cat. Roberto.
Thank you so much for having me, Michael. There was a line Ellie said, and at the pause of dawn, applause. Oh my God, just listen to that. Such beautiful lyricism all over your work. It's just gorgeous. Thank you for coming. This poem is called "The Day is Long and Full of Names," and it's for Aubrey Bean, who had to leave the party early. The day is long and full of names. Remember when we were little and there was a party and we went to the party and we were so nervous because of everything. We were so nervous in our bathing suit and breathing skin, and we cried because it was too much. That everything was so new, everything was so big, everyone so new, and the faces so strange. And then someone asked us our name. Our name was all we ever wanted, all we ever needed, and they took our hand and led us through it all, and then we began to learn all the names. Before, we were so afraid of the water until we opened and began to learn its name. And then we were swimming. And the water so cold and fresh, and the sun was good and warm, and the laughter was everywhere. And then we were running, and then the grass, and then our knees rubbed green, and the sun was so bright, and the laughing was everywhere. And we spun, and the light fell through our eyes, and we ate small, sweet things, and the sun was in our bellies, and the laughing full of sweet, and everything so huge, so full, and so many voices. And we held hands, shrilled and jumped, and our little bodies moved. And someone showed us magic, and our faces fell open with awe. We hugged and loved our friends, new friends, forever, as much as our little bodies could hold forever. And we drank cool, tall water and missed our parents. We played hide and seek and closed our eyes, and no one could see us, and we chased and ran, and our bodies grew tired with the day, tired and aching from the one day full of magic. And we grew sleepy. We didn't want to leave, and we cried because we had to go home. We knew we had to go home. We had lived so much that day. We were so full and tired. Our muscles couldn't lift our heads. When we were carried to the car, and still, we heard people swimming and laughing. But the car door was open, and someone we loved was carrying us to the back seat, where there was a blanket, and we can't remember how we got home, but we did. And the day was long and full of names. A lot of the times I write about childhood and also sex and death. Sometimes drinking. This is called Good Times. The good times are killing you, she says, smiling as she hands you the drink. You look away. Pretend not to notice. She may be right. It's been a long week. Smiling as she hands you the drink, the day peels back, bleeding into white noise. She may be right. It's been a long week. You quietly brace yourself for the shot. The day peels back, bleeding into white noise. Cheers, you mumble to no one in particular. You quietly brace yourself for the shot. This is what it feels like to be on fire. Cheers, you mumble to no one in particular. Tomorrow is already rumbling in your gut. And this is what it feels like to be on fire. Everything a blur with flame and comfort. Tomorrow is already rumbling in your gut. You look away. Pretend not to notice. Everything a blur with flame and comfort. The good times are killing you, she says. You can tell I've had a few drinks in my day. This one is about teaching the children. I love me the children's. Bless their little hearts. I've got a few about teaching the children. This one's called A Glaring Misuse of Register. These two linguist cats, they made up a definition for slang, like an academy's definition for slang, and it's a glaring misuse of register. A student spits the word under his breath into his neighbor's collar. That was filthy, he says. He sounds out the room's desire to feel. The shock of this is undeniable, as if so many texts, flat screens, and vibrating controllers could wrest this from your crown of laurels, a wonder after the raunch and spectacle of the electric circus. Remember the zeitgeist. Feel thee is not enough. Not decadent enough, not rock and roll, not dirty enough, not funky, not grimy, not street, not raw, not nasty, hot, tight enough. Instead, relish the Piscean undulation of the E as it snakes its way down through the doped up half of the remixed first syllable. Feel thee. 3-beat sexy. Listen as the last syllable graces the top of the tongue with the bottom of the incisors, Lolita style. Southern, sibilant, fealty gone to seed. Ask them to get out their notebooks. Smile demurely. Take care not to let pride tug up your chin. So this is another one for the children's. Yeah. This is for Romeo, who passed away this year, and all the kids that I ever taught at Southwest. It's called The Fire This Time, or How come some brown boys get blazed right before class and other questions without marks? How much damn broke does it take to want to burn just before class, lung green with chaos? How many times the police come to the door way past late, your auntie face forlorn and flashing in the turning blue? How much knuckle in a boy fist gotta break cheek till body want to go numb? How much brave you gotta front, pay forward, like a hard stare, like a work muscle jaw? How many legal papers say stay or go, right or nothing, home or jail, love or palm skin? How many words or promises did dad, mom, and God knows who else have to crush so that you spit out your eyes and slouch like a demon, daring me to call out your name as if it had power anyway? As if your own name, when you strangle it out your throat, spill God stuff. God, like a broke egg, baby born into fire. How come fire put you to bed instead of sweet hands, good hands? Why they put bad hands? Why bad hands? Why the fire this time, God? Why? We ain't done nothing yet. And nothing wrong. Except the babies are on fire. On fire. Babies burning by the stairs before school begins. A big thank you to Soul Food Cafe. What up, Soul Food? So this is kind of an incantation as much as it is a poem. Flesh, and the flesh remembers. The flesh has a name, and that is my name. They named that body, and that body is somebody, and that name was somebody, and I'm proud of that name, and I'm proud of that body. That body is a name, and that name is my body, and my body is a body, and I had a body, and I had a body, and I was ashamed. When we had a body, and we were ashamed, there was shame in the body. There was shame in the body because it was flesh. There is love of the body because it was there, but nobody has no body. Nobody has no body. Nobody has no body. The body, the body, the body, the body, just flesh. Just flesh, just flesh. The poor body. The poor, poor body. The poor body. We body. We body. We body. Flesh. We body. Flesh. We things are just flesh and we exist. The thing that calls out in the night, the thing that lives, the thing we call flesh, the thing that calls out in the night is called out by its name. The body, the body, the body that is your name, the body that is yours, yours. You have a body. You have your body. You have your body. Your body is your body. My body is my body. My body is my body, and I have a body. That thing that says I has a body is a body, a body, a body. We want for ourselves everything. We want ourselves to have something, own something, and our bodies are our own and not perfect. Our bodies are not perfect. What we wanted was perfect. Only perfection, perfection, God. God has no body. All bodies are God. God has no body. God has no body. I have a body, and I was ashamed. That body was brown. And my girl has a body, and she's ashamed, and she has a white body. Her body is white. And I'm proud of her body. I'm proud of her body. She's a body, and that body is there. And we have a body, and you have a body, and you have these words here. You can hear these words here. Body. body, just a body. My sister has a body, and I am ashamed, and my sister has a body, and I am proud. And this body would end for that body, end for that body. My body has a body, and my father has a body, and I am. And my father has a body, and I am. My father has a body, and I am. And my body is mine own body. My father came into my mother's body. My mother's body, her body was not alone. There was another body, my body, my body. And these words are not body. These words are not body. These are not body. These are not body, not body. These are the things that are filling up my body. The sperm in my mother's body made me. My mother came into my mother's body. My father was something. There was something that came into your mother's body, a body. My flesh loves body. My body loves body. My flesh is a body, flesh, body, and the body is body, flesh, body. And the thing that talks is body, no body. The thing that talks is no body, no body. Several body, word flesh, several body, word flesh, no body. Several body, word flesh, no body. I can only know that this here was my body. Tomorrow there may be all body, only words for new bodies. Only words for new bodies. There was just words and bodies that beget bodies, and no more words and no more bodies. Bodies that make words and words that make more words, and bodies and bodies and bodies. And the bodies are the houses for the words. The houses for the words. Upon further contemplation of the prosciutto, I found the bodhisattva I was looking for. A shank of light glisters through the translucent fat as I hold it up for inspection. Look here, I say. Delicious. She clucks sweetly at me, nosing the pinking flesh, says, see how light moves through the dead as well as the living? And flashes one of those smiles. Later, I ask if she is angry at the war machine, slaughterhouse, and fermenting rivers of blood we made this morning. She replies by quoting Kerouac. I just wish I was free of that slaving meat wheel, safe in heaven dead. Don't you? Her smile tells me that I too will hold myself up to the light one day, in one way or another. Someone will see through my pinkering that day. Some other fool will debate the moral weight of a piece of me, mouth sloppy with saliva. Now, I don't think she is angry then, only smart and full of compassion. Then she tells me politely to please get the fuck out of this restaurant. Now, I'd like to oblige, but before I can answer, we are interrupted. By a miracle, my pen startles, lifts off the page, becomes a flock of starlings. My eyes trace their flight path out the door along the clotheslined rooftops. Dumbfounded, I follow them all the way home. Thank you very much. Big round of applause for Ellie. You're the best.
Thank you. Wow. A few advertisements. On some of the tables you may find this postcard which lists the Poets Wanted series that I've been running here at the Redmond Library. And the fifth, last one, is coming up next Wednesday. It's a free program at the library where we talk about life and poetry of famous dead poets. And we've had Octavio Paz, Robert Frost, Basho, Rabindranath Tagore last night. And next week is Theodor Retke, so please come for that. It's free at the library on Wednesday night next week. And also on the tables is a bookmark advertising poet laureate activities, including the Poets in the Park festival that's coming up June 20. I also want to mention the Redmond Association of Spoken Word will be having its monthly reading on the last Friday of February. And it will feature this month Kelly Russell Agadon and Martha Solano. And they will be doing something a little unusual in that they will be, they're talking about their book on writing prompts. And we'll actually have a writing prompt session, which we normally don't do, but we're going to do this time. So that should be fun, plus the usual open mic. That's the Redmond Association of Spoken Word over at the Old Redmond Schoolhouse Community Center. And next month, here at Soul Food, March 19, our featured readers are Tina Schumann and Ann Batchelor Hersey. So March 19, please come back for that. And before we go on our break, I'll read one more Hanshan poem. Anyone noticed any blossoms out yet? It feels really early. You have seen the blossoms among the leaves. Tell me, how long will they stay? Today they tremble before the hand that picks them. Tomorrow they await someone's garden broom. Wonderful is the bright heart of youth, but with the years it grows old. Is the world not like these flowers? Ruddy faces, how can they last? Hanshan. So let's take a break. I don't know if you guys have publications for sale or anything like that. So take a look at some of the books for sale back here. Get something to eat or drink. And if you haven't yet signed up on our open mic sheet, which seems to be really thin tonight, there's still a chance to sign up. Please sign up for that. And then we'll start again in a few minutes with our open mic. One more round of applause for Ellie and Roberto.